Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be reviewing this Nigerian comedy movie from 2024. It's filled with love and laughter. Let's begin. Light shines on Ozoemena and her mother. Ozoemena is a local village girl who is old enough to be married but still in secondary school. Her father is late, but she's living with her mom. Her mother is scolding her for coming back with the last position in her class, and when she asked her to spell her name, she couldn't do so. Instead, she was winding her lips up and down. Roselyn brought water for her mom, and as she sat down, she began narrating the story of a young lady in their village who got married to a rich man and how their marriage is the talk of the town. But her mother said it was also the same years back when she married Ozoemena's father. Every girl wanted him, but she ended up winning his heart. Ozoemena was ashamed of her story because she knew her father was poor when he was alive. But her mother said that is the more reason why she wants her to marry a rich man so she doesn't end up like her. But Ozoemena said she can't even end up like her mother because she is smart and talented. Her mother told her that those kind of men that she's looking for are not in their village but in the city. But she refused and said that her friends did not travel to the city to find their own husbands, so she too must find her own husband in the village. The next day, her mother saw her at home without going to school. She came close and asked her why she didn't go to school, but Ozoemena said that her new plan is to cut off anything that would hinder her from finding her own husband. Her mother said that wasn't their plan, that she should just go about living her normal life and her husband will find her anywhere, even in school. But Ozoemena said school would be a distraction to her. Besides, she doesn't understand anything in school, and her teacher is always reporting to her mother about her, saying she did one thing or the other. Her plan from now henceforth is to stand at their village border every day, so that if any husband comes into the village, she will be the first to know. And her mother felt like crying at the kind of dummy she gave birth to as a daughter. One fateful day, as Ozoemena was walking back to the house, a young man called Roland stopped her. It seemed he is interested in her. He said he doesn't live in the village, he only came down to monitor a few projects he has. Ozoemena obviously likes him as well, and they got acquainted. Roland said she should come in so they can both go somewhere and have a talk. But Ozoemena asked him a question. Her question was, which city does he live? Roland says he lives in Toronto, Canada. Ozoemena was confused because she hasn't heard of such a place. She asked him if Toronto is in Lagos, Abuja, Warri or Port Harcourt, but Roland says it's not in any of those places but in Canada. Ozoemena was still confused, so she accused him of stealing someone's car and being a ritualist who doesn't have a residence. Apparently, Ozoemena's timidity has clouded her sense of reasoning and understanding, and that was how she lost a man who probably could have been her potential husband. Over here is Ozoemena's auntie Roselyn and her husband James. Roselyn woke him up to tell him that since Ozoemena doesn't want to go to school in the village, she's suggesting bringing her over to the city to enroll her in school. The husband reacted and said she'll be a bad influence on the children and he doesn't want that. When Roselyn noticed that he wasn't ready to agree, she turned the discussion into a fight between them. She said that James is wicked and doesn't want to accommodate her relation. With all that she was doing, James agreed to what she wanted, but it was out of pressure. Ozoemena's mom is telling her that she would be going to the city to stay with her auntie, but Ozoemena was furious about the news. She says her goal is to get a husband and all her friends got their husbands here in the village, so her own case cannot be different. Her mother said it was for her own good, but she said she doesn't want good, she just wants a husband that's final. Ozoemena's auntie Roselyn has come to take her to the city. Her mother is appreciating her for remembering her and her daughter. Roselyn was happy and she said she's definitely going to take care of Ozoemena and enroll her in a good school. When Ozoemena heard about school, she fired back at her mother and auntie and said if school is their plan, then she would rather stay back in the village. Roselyn told her that the kind of husband she's looking for can only be found in the city and that they will only come to her if she goes to school, and that was when she agreed to go with her. They arrived at Roselyn's husband's house in the city. It was a mansion to behold. They came out of the car and went inside at night. When everyone is eating, Ozoemena came out of the kitchen complaining that the food that was left for her is very little and cannot satisfy her. Roselyn apologized and said that is how they eat in the city and she would get used to it with time. But she was complaining about it while she was eating. Among everyone, she was the only one eating like a dog. She started exhibiting some irritating behaviors like picking meat from the children's plate and trying to feed them from her own plate and drinking up their juice without their consent. The children got irritated, lost their appetite and left the table for her. Ozoemena was happy about this because she would be the one to eat the food they left behind. The next morning, Ozoemena came to the dining and met the whole family eating together. She greeted Roselyn and her husband and asked if what they are eating is meant to serve as an appetizer before they have the main breakfast. But Roselyn said what they are having is breakfast, not an appetizer, and hers is in the kitchen. She thought it was a joke, so she went inside the kitchen and came out with a tiny cup of tea and 4 slices of bread. Roselyn told her that she needs to start adjusting to city life by eating healthy. They all were done eating, so they left Ozoemena at home. She was just looking at the size of cup they used to take tea and she felt like crying and going back to the village. It was afternoon time and Ozoemena was hungry. She came into the kitchen yawning and looking for something to eat. When she opened one of the kitchen units, she saw peanuts. She wondered how her Auntie Roselyn and her family are eating. She opened one of the peanuts and tasted it. She didn't really like the taste and she didn't know what to do. So she opened up the refrigerator and saw some drinks, but she didn't know that those drinks were alcoholic, so she started consuming them. Ozoemena ended up ransacking the whole house. Apparently, she was under the influence of the alcoholic drinks she took earlier. James and his wife came back and met her standing on the chair and singing out loudly. James was furious because of this. They had to take her to the hospital, and when they came back, Roselyn sat her down and asked why she got herself drunk. But she apologized and said she was hungry, but there wasn't anything in the kitchen for her to eat. Roselyn said it's alright, but she needs to start adjusting to city life, though it may not be easy, but she should at least try. She then told her to tidy up the place so they can talk about how she can go back to school. But Ozoemena said she can't go back to school because her head is just like a coconut, filled with water and nothing can enter. Roselyn also said it's fine if she doesn't want to go to school. Roselyn went to the room to calm her husband down. James was very annoyed with what happened, but after Roselyn spoke to him, he became calm. Ozoemena went strolling down the estate when she saw one of their neighbors, whose name is Kate. Ozoemena introduced herself and asked Kate if the guy she's with is her husband, but Kate told her to mind her business and they left. The next day, while Kate was outside with her husband, Ozoemena interrupted by revealing to the husband what she saw yesterday. Kate couldn't defend herself, and this almost caused a rift between the couple. After a while, Kate came to James's house to complain to him and his wife about what Ozoemena did to her. She told them that Ozoemena told her husband that she's flirting and kissing guys around the estate. James and his wife apologized to her and promised they'll talk to her. Roselyn called Ozoemena and gave her a list of things to get from the market. She looked at the list with confusion, but Roselyn told her to take the list directly to the woman that sells salad. Ozoemena begged her aunt Roselyn to please prepare soup and apple, that she's tired of eating grass all in the name of salad, but Roselyn shunned her, so she left for the market. Ozoemena came back from the market and prepared soup and apple for the whole family. Everyone was enjoying it, especially Roselyn's husband, James. When Roselyn came into the dining, she was surprised at what everyone was eating, so she called out for Ozoemena, and when she came out, Roselyn asked her why she prepared soup and apple instead of the vegetable salad she told her to prepare. But Ozoemena said that when she saw vegetable, she knows vegetable is ogo, so she decided to prepare vegetable soup. While Roselyn was scolding her for going against her instruction, James told her to sit down and enjoy the food with them. She was surprised that her husband wasn't supporting her at all. The children too were enjoying the food, so she had no other option. James then told Ozoemena to go into the kitchen and bring him more of the food, and she left fearfully. Some days after, James came back with a bag of foodstuff, and his daughter came to welcome him. He told her to call Ozoemena, and when Ozoemena came out, he hailed her for a while and then gave her the bag of foodstuff containing egusi and bushmeat and asked her to prepare a delicious egusi soup with the bushmeat he got. Roselyn saw what happened and asked James why he would buy foodstuff and give to Ozoemena to prepare when she's around and against her wish, but James said he knows she can cook it well, and Rose was dumbfounded. Ozoemena is done preparing the soup, and James is so enjoying the meal, and same with the children. James kept on complimenting ozoemena while he ate. He said ozoemena is the best cook ever. His wife then asked why he would label another woman the best cook over his wife, but James said she only specializes on intercontinental dishes, but ozoemena gives him the real African food the way he likes it. After they were done eating, James was just snoring and farting anyhow while they were sleeping, and Rose was very uncomfortable with this, so she woke him up to have a brief talk. She clearly stated that she wants ozoemena to go back to the village because obviously she's doing more harm than good with the way she overfeeds him, but James said she's going nowhere. Rose brought ozoemena to her friend Oge, who is a hairdresser. She wants her to learn hairdressing so she can stop feeding her family with swallow, but ozoemena declared no interest in learning this particular handwork, but Rose ignored her and left. It was time for her first lesson and her madam, Oge, was the one tutoring her. Instead of her to pay attention to the lesson and grab what she's saying, she was just dozing while she was standing. A customer came to get her hair done, but ozoemena kept abusing the customer and telling her how dirty her hair looks. When she realized that the customer was sleeping, she gave her a head knock to wake up. The customer stood up and drew the attention of Oge, and when she came out, she asked ozoemena to leave her salon and never come back. Rose came to complain to James about what ozoemena did at her workplace, but it turns out James wasn't even aware that ozoemena now has a workplace. But he said he was hungry and his wife snubbed him, so he called ozoemena, and when she came, he hailed her as usual and then asked her to go get him the remaining soup from the kitchen. But as she was about to go, Rose stood up and stopped her and said she would leave her house right that instant. But James stood up and commanded ozoemena to go to the kitchen and bring his food immediately. Rose was shouting, but he ignored her and left. Rose came back from work and the children welcomed her. Initially, she saw her husband's car outside, so she asked the children and they said their father came back early with foodstuff and he and ozoemena has been in the kitchen since then, cooking. That's ozoemena and James cooking together in the kitchen when Roselyn walked in. She accused James of leaving his work early just to come back to the house and gallivant with ozoemena. Ozoemena simply asked what gallivant means because it sounds like gala. But Rose shunned her and asked James to meet her upstairs. James is eating together with his wife when ozoemena came to serve them water. James began to appreciate her with a side hand knuckle, and Roselyn stopped her and accused her of trying to seduce her husband with food. But ozoemena said James is not her spec because he's short, bowed, and also looks like a monkey. James refused to finish his food and blamed it on his wife. He complained bitterly at the fact that ozoemena insulted him. During midnight, none of the couples could sleep. Roselyn was thinking about how James and ozoemena are becoming too close, and James himself is thinking about the food he left during dinner. He was feeling hungry and couldn't sleep, so he decided to sneak out of the room to go finish up his food in the kitchen. But he didn't know his wife was also awake too, and when he left, she woke up and discovered her husband was up to something, so she assumed that he was going to see ozoemena and followed him quietly. Ozoemena also thought to go put the remaining food in the fridge if James would not eat it again. James got to the kitchen and started eating the food. Meanwhile, his wife has been peeping from outside thinking that her husband is in there with ozoemena. But someone tapped her from the back and surprisingly it was ozoemena. James heard noises coming out of the kitchen, so he came out and asked them what they're doing following him around. Rose flared up and said she has the right to be wherever she wants in her house, and then she left. James told his children to tell their mother when she gets back that he's going to the market with ozoemena to buy foodstuff. On their way, Kate saw them and was not happy that James decided to take ozoemena to market instead of his wife. She waited for Rose, and when she drove in, she told her what she saw, but Roselyn didn't believe her, not until she went inside and her children confirmed it. So she left to go look for them herself. She found them on their way back and disgraced them publicly. She fought her husband and ran after ozoemena. Roselyn came back again and met James and ozoemena in the kitchen cooking together. She was mad, so she chased ozoemena out of the kitchen and forced the husband to cook with her, else she would divorce him. When she was done cooking, she realized that the children aren't eating. They say the food is tasteless. James was about to leave as well, but she stopped him and started forcing him to eat the food because she made it specially for him. James said he can never eat that food, and while Roselyn went into the kitchen, he quietly ran away. Roselyn came back and met her husband James playing with ozoemena and the children. She was burning like fire in her car while she wondered what her husband sees in ozoemena that attracts him to her, and despite all her effort to separate the two of them, they still find a way to become closer. She came down and started fighting them. The argument continued inside when Roselyn accused James of having an affair with ozoemena, but James saw the accusation as an insult because he knows his hands are clean. Rose came back from work and Kate greeted her from over the fence. They talked for a while and Kate was able to convince her to send ozoemena back to the village to know her husband's reaction. Roselyn deceived her husband and ozoemena. She said she was taking ozoemena to school, but she hired a private driver to secretly take ozoemena back to the village. She came back and told her husband that ozoemena ran away while they were on their way to school. She tried looking for her, not until her mom called a few hours later and said she has arrived at the village, but all these were lies. Surprisingly to her, James told her not to worry, that it's not her fault, but she was surprised because that wasn't exactly the response or reaction she was hoping to get from James, her husband. Rose came into the room and saw her husband looking happy. She asked why he hasn't seemed affected by the fact that ozoemena is no longer living with them. James explained to her that he doesn't have feelings for ozoemena whatsoever, if that's what she's insinuating, but the reason he has always been around ozoemena is because he wanted to learn how to cook local dishes from her, knowing fully well that she, being Rose, is an advocate of intercontinental dishes and he doesn't want to hurt her feelings by telling her to change her food preference. So from now, she would do the intercontinental dishes while he would do the local dishes himself, because ozoemena taught him well right before she left. Ozoemena's mom is asking her why Roselyn sent her back to the village, but ozoemena said he doesn't know, but she has to go back because all her friends have already left the village. She later came back to the city and exposed all that Roselyn did, and everyone welcomed her. Kate was coming to see Roselyn, but Roselyn told ozoemena to tell her that she's not around. Ozoemena started by calling her a woman with two husbands, and if she has come to snatch Roselyn's husband too. She went inside to bring hot water, but Kate ran away before she could even come out. Ozoemena saw one of her friends back from the village, Ebere, and she was happy. Ebere's boyfriend asked who ozoemena is, but Ebere described her as some local village girl she knew way back from the village. Ozo was shocked and felt ashamed. Ebere told her boyfriend to please take her out of there because she doesn't have time for classless people. Ozoemena felt so embarrassed, and that was when she knew she needed to go to school. She narrated what happened to James and his wife, and after they preached to her, she agreed to go to school. She was registered immediately, and that's the end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, do well to leave a like, share the video and comment your favorite movies that you'd like us to show on Recap. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one.